Saul Branch from STL. Welcome to the Be Ready Master series, focused on being equipped with the right technology to be ready for whatever comes next. The pandemic has been a tough, real-life stress test and changed the landscape irreversibly. With no normal to return to, businesses of every size and sector have adapted to different ways of working and reevaluate operations. It really has changed everything, from how work gets done to how we communicate and collaborate, highlighting both opportunities and efficiencies as well as risk and vulnerabilities. As we move forward into uncharted territory, it's vital to equip our business with the sustainable technology needed to be resilient and ready for whatever comes next. Today's masterclass is all about keeping your business secure from the increasing number of cyber attacks and some hints and tips on what you can do. Delighted today to be joined by Paul Govier, STL Senior Technical Consultant and Certified Ethical Hacker. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Saul. How's it going?
Good, thanks. Thank you. Paul, my first question. So tell me, you are a hacker. Isn't that a bad thing? Should I be concerned?
No, yeah, you're right. I am a hacker, but I'm what's known as an ethical hacker. Or white hat. We're basically the good guys. We help to keep networks secure, safe, and obviously keep the staff trained on what's going on. The ones that you're referring to they're known as black hat or grey hat hackers, and then you have the larger organisations like the state-sponsored hackers, nation-sponsored hackers, and on the other end of the scale, you do get what's called script kiddies. They're basically just younger adults going online, finding a few little scripts on GitHub, and generally ended up getting arrested for not knowing what they're doing. So,
wow. Okay. Out of interest, where are these people located?
I mean, we usually relate hacking with Russia, China, Asia, but to be honest, they're all around the world, small and large groups. Yeah, it's global.
Thanks, Paul. My second question, without giving away too much, what methods are used to gain access into businesses?
There's many. I'll just cover a couple. The main one being social engineering. This is where a hacker will try and gain information from a person. If they can't get onto the equipment, they will target the employees or the person themselves. This is done through Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, general Google searches, Google Maps searches, looking at premises, cameras, those kind of things. So yeah, it's usually the main way. We all see different versions of it every day through phishing scams, those kind of things. And then secondly, another very common method is what's called the USB rubber ducky.
Seriously, rubber ducky?
Yeah. So rubber ducky, it was designed by a guy called Darren Kitchen back in 2010. He was working as a sysadmin at the time, and he was getting really bored and lazy and to do the same commands over and over again on computers every day. So he actually programmed and created a small USB device with a board on the back about the size of a stamp. This would process commands in human speed, so we could get these tasks done very, 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 very quickly every day. He needed something to put it into. He needed a case to hold it in to keep it safe. And as he was looking around his desk, he see a very tiny little plastic rubber duck like you would get out of a kid's vending machine, and it fit the key perfectly. Over the years, this has evolved into being one of the strongest tools in a hacker's arsenal, and the name rubber ducky, it just stuck. So
I've heard about scatter method. What's that?
The scatter method, yeah. So again, it's very similar to the rubber ducky. Preloaded USB keys. A hacker would buy maybe 50, 100 USB keys. They're so cheap nowadays. Preload their script software and literally scatter them around car parks, in business premises, smoking areas, outside picnic areas, just in the hope someone's going to pick it up and plug it in to a computer at work, and that just gives the hacker instant access to that network.
So you wouldn't recommend businesses use USB for storage anymore?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, a lot of places do have policies where they don't allow it, but you can get tools that actually physical locks that go into the USB slots on computers, giving your IT team the keys so only they can unlock the slots, or having a good endpoint software protection, tamper protection. It's called sandboxing. So anything that's plugged into a machine, the endpoint will effectively grab that, put it in a sandbox, check it before anything happens to it. So you can't allow them. You just got to be safe and have things in place to prevent it.
Sure. You've mentioned social media. I've heard about the danger of quizzes on social media. Is that really a threat?
Yeah, very much so. Many, well, dozens and dozens of campaigns that have been run over the years by hackers. You've all seen them on Facebook, Instagram, etc. Name your top 5 favorite foods. Share if you're awesome when you were born in February, or tell me 5 things about yourself that someone wouldn't know. People are just doing these all the time. You see hundreds of thousands of shares, but 10 years ago, if someone random person on the street come up to you and said, Saul, what's your mother's maiden name, or what's your best friend's name at school, or which street did you grow up onto? You're telling them to go away. But nowadays, people are just sharing it online and giving away their information.
I don't understand how this information can be relevant to a cyber attack on a business.
Any information gained by a cybercriminal is information. It's one step closer to them getting into that person's life or into that person's company. Most people, a very large percentage of people in the world, their passwords relate to something personal to them, so they can remember it, a favourite pet, month they were born, star sign, those kind of things. So if hackers can just slowly get this information from people, we have tools available that can compile humongous word list of every single combination of these passwords, and then they're fed into brute force software, and away you go.
You've mentioned about hacking a network with the information collected from social media. Is this a person or a group of hackers?
It can be both. I mean, you could have a suspicious partner who wants to get onto your Facebook account to check your messages. You could have an ex-partner wanting to try and get some revenge. You could have a disgruntled employee that's been let go, or an ex-employee who just want to get a bit of information. A lot of time they're not actually targeting you as a person when we speak about it. They are trying to target you so you can act as a host to conduct further. It's like a web effect. So they get onto one person, that one person will then go out to another 50 people. That 50 people go out to 1,000 people, and you can see how quickly it spirals and how quickly that information can get fed back.
Just out of interest, when someone leaves a business, what should offboarding them look like from an IT point of view?
It's a big task, especially if that person is management director, or not director, obviously management level, or in the IT with the full access to everything. We have to obviously shut that person's account down, make sure the VPNs are tied down, any company equipment is given back, that equipment is checked to see if any data has been taken off recently, such as databases, company files, etc. And then obviously larger, the IT, if it's an IT member of staff that goes, we have to lock down all of our customers' passwords. We have to change all of the clients' root access, all of their passwords, because obviously a lot of most of our passwords are completely random strings of letters and numbers, so very, very, very hard to remember. But that's not to say that person's got a copy of it on their laptop. So yeah, we need to change everything to keep customers secure.
So it's absolutely crucial that we make sure that old access individuals had is removed once they leave the business.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Even if that employee left on good terms or is a family member or anything, you've got to lock it down. You've got to be safe in this day and age, really.
Sure. I've heard about a guy called Kevin Mitnick. Could you explain who this is?
Kevin Mitnick, yeah, he's one of the most famous hackers in the world. He actually specialised in social engineering, which I was talking about earlier. He was arrested in 1995 for a string of activities that he wasn't so careful with. He served 5 years in prison. When he came out, he obviously got invited to do interviews, and so he sat on this interview in the USA. It was about a 2-hour-long interview. During the interview, he asked if he could have his laptop, but he didn't want the audience to see what he was doing. He just simply said, "Oh, I want to show you something at the end of this interview." So the interview went on. Interviewer was talking to him, asking him questions, prison life, etc., etc. Kevin was dropping in very sly little comments such as, "Oh, how's Poppy, your dog?" And the interviewer would go, "No, my dog's called Sandy," and things like this. Just catch him off guard. Very friendly conversation. he was taking it all in as he was doing it, and unbeknown to the interviewer, he was actually on the laptop looking at his Facebook page, his Twitter page, getting as much information as he could. Interview went on, everything was good. At the end of the interview, the interviewer said, "So what were you going to show us, Kevin? What do you need that laptop for?" Kevin turns around and says, "Do me a favour, can you just log into your phone and check your bank account for me?" The interviewer picks up his phone, and his face goes white. Kevin's emptied his entire bank account while he was sat there interviewing him. He gave it all back. Obviously, it was just to show he was still capable of doing it. But yeah, just during a 2-hour live interview, he gathered enough information. He'd probably done some research beforehand as well, I should imagine. Yeah. But yeah, he emptied the guy's bank account live during an interview. It was
that's amazing. Thanks, Paul. Best to check my bank account now then. Okay, let's move on. Question 3. We've heard all about phishing scams. Can you give us an insight into phishing scams?
Yeah, we've all seen them. We're aware of them. We see them every day. Messages coming through from Facebook, Microsoft 365, Amazon, HMRC, etc. They are obviously fake. Some are very, very obvious. Some are very hard to tell, and people do get caught out. Very, very, very hard to spot sometimes. They are getting very, very good at them, and even for spam filters, that kind of stuff, they are bypassing them now because they are getting better and better at the coding they're doing.
Okay, once I received an email from a customer and the email address was his actual email address, how is this even possible?
It would have been one of 2 things. I use our domain, for example, stlcoms.com. Glance up at the email that you say from him. It could have either stlcoms.com. It could have had an S missing off the end. It could have had 3 M's, so stlcoms.com, an extra M in there, or the O could have been a 0. It's just a quick glance, you wouldn't have noticed. The other option is that customer or client may have been breached themselves, and that email has actually been intercepted by a hacker. They will intercept them, they will check them, they will get information, they may inject code or PDFs, and then they will then forward them on to the intended recipient. No one knows that it's been intercepted. Man in the middle. It's got a man in the middle attack. No one knows it's been intercepted. Customer gets it and does whatever's been asked because it's their boss that's asked them to do it.
So it's super important that everyone checks their emails that are coming in.
You have to be checked. You can't just rely on emails. It's a good thing now. What most people do, and we've seen it many times across different clients. If they have email conversations about making large payments or changing bank accounts, make a phone call. Phone up your boss, phone up your line manager, make sure it's right before you send large amounts of money or things like that. Okay.
Do you have any other examples of phishing attacks?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's another one that's called phishing, which is voice phishing. This often involves a call from a lady. People are generally a little bit more lenient when ladies are on the phone. They will pretend to be from gas, electric, maybe your bank, mobile phone company. There'll be a lot of noise in the background, kids screaming, general commotion going on. The person will sound quite rushed and quite distracted or distraught on the phone, just to try and make you give them the information quickly and not sort of do the normal checks you would do. And they do get a lot of information. Another one on the back of that, which is a worrying one that's coming up and getting more and more prevalent. Actually made headlines in 2019 when a CEO of the UK's based energy firm, he transferred almost £250,000 to his boss after a phone call. However, it transpired that it wasn't his boss that had called him. A hacker had been watching news interviews and YouTube videos, etc., of these people when they were on the news or doing presentations, and actually fed this information into some scripts and software, loaded it into a translation engine, and the hacker was speaking as I am now to the CEO, pretended to be his boss, asking him for a dividends payment or whatever, sounding exactly like him. And of course, the guy on the end of the phone was like, "Yeah, no worries. You're my boss. Here's £250,000 dividends." It wasn't his boss. Just sounded exactly like him.
Wow, thanks, Paul. It's shocking the lengths criminals will go to attack a customer's data. 4th question, Paul. So how do we keep secure?
First and foremost, any company, employee training, keeping employees up to date. We have to do training in-house. We send out newsletters every once or twice a month, just keeping people aware of the current trends and the technology available to hackers, etc. You can invest millions and millions of pounds in your infrastructure, but if your employees aren't aware that they shouldn't be clicking that email, that money is it's not wasted, but it's not being it's not there for any good reason. Strong passwords, as we all know, strong password policies, and obviously most companies nowadays are adopting a 2FA, two-factor authentication.
Sorry, Paul, can you explain what that is?
2FA, yeah. So 2FA is additional layer of security, where you would log in. You may have to verify a text message. You may have a biometrics authenticator app with your iris or your fingerprints on your phone. It's just a second level. So if a hacker has your username, password, if they try and log in, they're not going to have your fingerprints. They're not going to have your eyeballs. You know, they've not got your phone to get that text message. So yeah, it's worth having.
So it's much like when I log into my bank and I have to wait for a text message with a code before I can move on. Yeah.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, Cyber Essentials. I keep seeing it on websites at various places. Can you explain what that is, please?
Yes, so Cyber Essentials is a government-backed policy. It's founded by the NCSC. It's a self-assessment initially. So the body, i.e. STL, would have the client with a questionnaire about the ways of working, what technology they've got on site, basic policies they may have, how they keep themselves secure. This would then be signed off as, that's good. We can see that you're safe to a degree. We're not saying you're completely secure, because it's not enough information, but we're happy that you're doing the right things. Then the next part of that is the Cybersecurity Plus, which a lot of very, very large corporates now require if you're applying for tenders, those kind of things. This is the same sort of thing, but it involves a consultant going to site, deploying an agent across the network. This will monitor all the PCs, all the devices on the network. It will report back patch levels, antivirus levels. This runs for a week, 2 weeks. It will report back. STL, for example, again, would be given advice, checking it. It's saying this is out of date. We need to do this. Once it's done, they are then issued with an updated Cybersecurity Plus accreditation, and nowadays that's worth its weight in gold, really.
Interesting. Is this something that STL can supply? Is it government backed?
It's government backed. Yeah, it's government backed, but no, STL are fully authorised to conduct these surveys and issue certificates. Yep. So we're Cyber Essentials ourselves. So yeah, we can do all the issuing, no problem at all.
Okay. Another question. Sorry. Upgrade to endpoint /UTM. What does this actually mean?
So yeah, most companies have some kind of antivirus in place. Antivirus, we all know what it is, what it does. It stops viruses. 5-10 years ago, absolutely fine. Lots of things to have got through. Nowadays, the technology, the ways of getting into companies is 1,000 times stronger than what it was back then. And an endpoint is an antivirus product, but it's got more built into it. It's got antivirus, anti-malware, anti-ransomware. It will use a sandbox technology. It often has built-in firewalls, local web filters, those kind of things. And in cases, it's actually cheaper than antivirus, because this is the way the world's going. But yeah, an endpoint is a full package. Rather, people can't just rely on antivirus nowadays. It's just not enough. And the UTM is obviously at gateway level, unified threat management, dedicated firewall, proxies at the gateway using WatchGuard, Cisco's, those kind of things. Very, very prevalent now to have a UTM in place for any business really, but it should be there. It's a very, very secure way of locking down your routers and stuff.
Finally, without wanting to give people nightmares, can you give us some examples of the way that companies have been compromised through cyber attacks?
Yeah, I've got a couple of quite funny ones. My favourite is focus on this casino in Vegas. They just had this big renovation. They had this lovely, great big aquarium built, very, very expensive fish in there, snails, starfish, all this kind of stuff. the keepers had installed a Internet of Things, a smart thermometer, or a smart device. This would regulate water temperatures, check the pH levels. It would do automatic feeding of the fish, all this kind of stuff. But of course, it linked back to the network because the keeper wanted to have it on his phone, so he could do it all from his phone. What they didn't do was change the default credentials on this device. We as hackers have access to a platform called Shodan, which will scan the internet for IoT devices with default credentials, which had happened. Before they knew it, these hackers had pulled off terabytes of data, including the algorithms of their roulette machines, customer data, gambling data, bank accounts, the lot. And it was 3 or 4 hours they were in the network before their IT team actually realized there was terabytes of data going out of this company, out of this casino. So yeah, that's one of my favourites.
Good job of staying the Premier Inn then.
Before you say Premier Inn, the next one is a very large chain of hotels. They were renovating a lot of their penthouse suites, their big suites on the top floors. They put in these smart curtain rails so that Mr. Microsoft can sit on his bed and open up his curtains with his phone and close them with his phone and look fancy and flash. Exactly the same thing. The installers had left these curtain rails, which again are linked into the network so that you can remotely access them from your phone or from a device. They'd left a lot of these curtain rails with default credentials. Hackers got into the curtain rail, down into the network, pulled off millions and millions of records of credit cards, addresses, email addresses, which then they will get fed onto hackers, and it just keeps evolving. So it's quite scary how in some ways we can get into businesses nowadays. Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. Cybersecurity is a massive topic, and that's some really interesting information we've covered today. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
So if you have any questions or need some help, we are offering free cybersecurity audits. For further information, please get in touch with us. So in closure, the business landscape has changed and familiar playbooks and proven approaches are now outdated. As the workplace adjusts and customers demand more, the need for better communication and collaboration has never been more prevalent. It's vital to have the right IT and communications in place to allow your business to not only operate at an optimum level, but to provide peace of mind that is adaptable, scalable, and when needed. Never has it been more important to be operational 24/7, be productive anywhere, and protect what matters most. If you equip your business with resilient IT and communications, you will be ready and mitigate disruption when change happens. After all, that's what every business wants, to be secure. Thank you, Paul, for joining me today. It really was insightful and thought-provoking to hear your views on cybersecurity and how we can help you and our customers to protect themselves. Thank you, everyone, for your participation today.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.